Hello, Starseeds and Superhero Friends, and welcome to the live stream. This is officially the Rachel Z Project podcast / show, which I have resurrected to just be a little bit more open forum and a little bit more about storytelling and less of the scripted stuff that I had been out there, I guess. I am currently dressed in the first part of my transformation sequence of Supergirl, you know, like where it's like, this is the job for Supergirl, and she like rips off the shirt and she like goes off. So I'm trying to film some movie magic as it comes to that, so stay tuned to that. I also do live readings of comic books on my TikTok channel, so I'll drop a little link to that below in the replay of this, and I do that on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays. And now the Tuesdays and Thursdays are at midnight, so technically it's Monday at midnight and Wednesday at midnight. So tomorrow at midnight would be when we're going to continue Crises. So tonight I'm going to do a little bit of a preamble of that on TikTok, but it's not going to be the reading just yet. It's going to be more of an astro view on characters, and specifically Supergirl as a case study. But that is not the topic for tonight. Tonight is about the Petroforms of Manitoba and the idea of finding magic in our own ancestry, right? So let me just hold on. Oh, Wolfie's having some dreams. I wanted to thank everybody too, as well as, okay, yes, I wanted to make sure my title was correct for what I wanted to be talking about. Sometimes I have the title for this live and then I go into it and I'm like, okay, what did I end up? I ended up talking. It was okay. It was good, but it wasn't what I was initially setting out to do. But tonight's topic is quite important to me. I am writing a saga. It's a 6-book saga. It's a science fiction fantasy. I started it in 1999 when I was 14, and I've resurrected it in huge part to a breakthrough psychedelic journey that my husband Kevin took me on. I would say that was about 2-3 years ago now. It feels like time is just like coiling very fast and it's going quicker and quicker. I don't know if you guys have noticed that as well. Time is just our way of perceiving this dimension, though. It's just another room in higher dimension. Wolfie, it's okay. Hold on, I'm gonna go wake him up. All right, Wolfie's in the book as well. He's like a time traveling dog. And dreams are a way of time traveling as well, but that's all explained. But in working out all of this, I have book 1, which is The Dragon Warriors Battle for Mount Olympus, which I've kept as a young adult novel, primarily because I wrote it when I was 14, so the themes in it are very much, you know, like crushes and it's of that time period. So I had to do some updating of it because some plot points didn't make sense and whatever. But I brought everything back to, you know, when I talk about astrology, it's been getting a bad rap lately. Well, I mean, like, just I feel like anything like that gets a bad rap. I shouldn't say bad. I just mean rap and reputation are the same, right? Yes, they are. So in that sense, astrology, I look at it as like if something were to come into form at a certain time, right? So if you're born at noon, it's going to be a different vibe than someone who's born at in the middle of the night. Or another example being if you're born at a full moon, or what location you're born in also matters. So I was born in the prairies, and I was doing some digging into sacred sites around the world. If you've joined me on Warrior Goddess Wednesday, I've been looking at different goddesses as they exist thematically throughout the world. So, for example, moon goddesses of the world, or goddesses that represent wifey duties, or warrior goddesses that also represent themes of love. So this is all because the stories of different cultures, I look at it as like we're all different tribes of Atlantis. And I have to show you guys this book. We found this lovely book at Kevin's dad's place the other day, and I found it quite synchronistic just with what I've been writing with the Dragon Warriors. And how does this relate to Petroforms, right? So Petroforms, I'm going to go into my next screen because we can now, I've pulled up some fun goodies today to learn about petroforms and sacred sites that may just exist in your own backyard, right? I'm going to be doing some work with decriminalized nature, which is really wonderful because we shouldn't have this war on nature and plants. We need to embrace the land that we come from and take the rightful spot as stewards of this planet. And let me just read this out as to so Whiteshell Provincial Park in Manitoba. This stood out to me a lot because me and my family used to go on camping trips a lot. And this I remember as being one of my mom's favorite places to go camping because Whiteshell had a nice beach. And I remember, I don't know if it was this park or if it was St. Malo, but we went on a hike and we ran into a cow because it was near farmland. I was like, what the heck is a cow? Anyways, so discover the center of Turtle Island in the Whiteshell Provincial Park. Located less than a 2-hour drive east of downtown Winnipeg, you'll find Whiteshell Provincial Park located on the Manitoba-Ontario border and geographically in the center of Turtle Island. Turtles already have a super lunar moon significance, and we'll get to that in just a moment. The park is called Whiteshell after the sacred white cowrie shell used by the Anishinaabe people in many ceremonies to this day. So sacred white cowrie shell. Ooh. This brings me back also to Venus, and the turtle shell is supposed to also represent certain cycles of time. And see, oh, it looks like this. I think you guys know what this shell looks like. That's the cowrie shell. Okay. I used to have a necklace like this. It's time to make some new ones, right? Spiritual meaning of cowrie shells is that they symbolize prosperity, wealth, protection, and connection with ocean and ancestral spirits. They're often used in various cultural and spiritual practices such as divination, healing, and ritual ceremonies. And they're derived from marine gastropods. Oh, interesting. Okay, so that's I'm not getting to that just yet. There's some crazy stuff happening in terms of these sacred sites, and we need to protect them. Okay, yes. That's cool. We're going to bring that into, because I think my big takeaway to you guys too as well in terms of looking into your own ancestral stories is to, inner work and going inward into like what the stories of your people are as to how you got here. And I used to think, being from the prairies, I wanted to escape so bad. And like now that I'm in the big city of Toronto, I'm just like trying to tell Kevin, I'm like, it's time to go back. It's time to go back to her. Okay, so Whiteshell Provincial Park is a beautifully preserved park space spanning more than 2,500 square kilometers and known for its numerous lakes, rivers, forests, and rugged rocky terrain. Throughout the park, you will find that many movable rocks and boulders left behind after the most recent ice age, and indigenous peoples made use of these boulders to create petroforms, placements of stones in the form of circles, turtles, serpents, water creatures, women formations, and many others as a tool to educate, tell stories, and record history. We continue to learn from these ancient knowledges today. And for tens of thousands of years, a number of indigenous nations lived in, crossed through, and traveled through the areas we now call Manitoba and Canada. Today, Whiteshell Provincial Park is a well-known cottage country for thousands of visitors, campers, just like me when I was little, and hikers, but indigenous peoples from many nations have been living in this region for tens of thousands of years. While the Petroform site has been named Bannock Point Petroforms, we're going to look at a video that shows how beautiful they actually are, but like if you're just ground level looking at them, it just looks like a pile of rocks. And then we're going to go into some vandalism that happened in 2017. I'm going to do some investigation astrologically about it. So in the Dragon Warriors, this site, the way I have it is because I was very influenced by the Power Rangers. And if you watched maybe I'll find it, the very first episode of Power Rangers when they first get their powers, there's an earthquake in Angel Grove Park. Sacred groves are a thing as well, symbolically in nature, and as in terms of sacred places that it's not so obvious as a place, like a barrier, because it's really not the way the world works. But they are sacred areas that we're losing them, and I feel like we can feel that impact in the world. So it's time for us to kind of activate and be the stewards of this land and help protect it. And where was I going with this? Yes, the Dragon Warriors, and in Angel Grove Park, there's an earthquake. So just like this, like you wouldn't have an earthquake in the middle of the prairies necessarily because you're not like on any kind of fault line. But hey, let's go with it for my universe. They go to these Petroforms on a field trip, and there's an earthquake that forms a split in the ground where there's a sleeping dragon, the great dragon, who is endowing powers to these teenagers, which include myself, my best friends, and our male friends, our male counterparts. And then we get taken to Mount Olympus via portal, because I think a lot of these things do function as portals. I bet you if they line up to certain astrological lineups in the sky, and it gives us clues and indicators when certain sacred sites are activated. That's just my hunch. Let's go into the video. Let me just make sure you can actually hear it, because I don't need to rehash the wheel where others explain, oh my goodness, eloquently what's going on. Let's do it. Make this a little bigger for you guys. So they're called the Bannock Forum Petroforms, and they're between Manitoba and Ontario. So on the east side of, oh my gosh, what the heck? There, okay. Let's do it.
This is a special place. It's an ancient sacred site, and the petroforms throughout this area are teaching stones. These stones are known as the original instructions of how we are to live on Mother Earth. We are at Manitoba, which means in Anishinaabe, Muwin, where the spirit sits. It is also known as the Bannock Point Petroforms in the Whiteshell Park. People have said that the tours that I give are very unique. I mean, you can't find this kind of knowledge sitting in a classroom. You have to come out here and experience
So beautiful.
the petroforms.
I remember camping here. It's crazy.
So the turtle is our living calendar, and the turtle works with the phases of the moon. Our teachings are very spiritual and ecological. You know, the Indigenous people had a history here before Canada became Canada.
Of course.
It doesn't matter what nation that you're from. People who come here, they feel a connectedness with the area, but also it brings a sense of that we are connected because of our teachings, like in the medicine wheel with the 4 colors of peoples. within that circle, we are all one in that circle.
And yeah, I had a little bit of like chills watching that. It's because like, you don't realize the beauty of where you're from until you miss it. I really do miss it right now, being in the concrete jungle. Okay, so that before from here, I have some other two queued up, but okay, I think what I'll do is I'll go through all of the petroforms and the sacred sites in terms of Manitoba and the area of the prairies. Also, fun thing to note is that Luriel Day was also in Manitoba. Like, we have Family Day in Ontario, and in Manitoba it's Luriel Day. And I did a astrological chart reading, a birth and death chart reading of Luriel. I'm going to repackage that up and put that out as a show, because it's about, he was put into an insane asylum for a little bit because he had some very I'm trying to think of the right word for it, because he looked at the Métis as being a chosen people of the land. And it's really like that old idea of this foreign body. Like, the Hudson's Bay Company sold Manitoba to the Confederacy of Canada. So what Canada is, a crown corporation. And Luriel in Manitoba, like, they call him the father of Manitoba, but to be honest, I don't think Luriel would have wanted Manitoba to really be part of Canada, because he was like, why are we going to send taxes to just, who are these people in Ottawa, right? And I feel like the same kind of idea still happens to this day. So we're going to play this one now. So pretty.
This place has been here for probably thousands of years. There are old stories about snakes, like I said, and turtles that go way back, all the way to into the mid northwest of the United States, with Algonquian peoples. The Shawnee, the Southerners, and those people had those types of stories. But
oops. First of all, University of Manitoba is where I went to school, so it's kind of funny. I'm like, and Brian Rice sounds kind of familiar, which is kind of interesting. I love these, like these little things that are always like on the paths when you go to like hiking and stuff, and you like take a little. I just remember a lot of that from like taking trips with my fam.
What you're going to see here is you're going to see two periods of time. You're going to see an older period of time, and then you're going to see a more newer period of time, and I'm not going to explain that, and I'll let you figure it out, and then we'll see what you come up with for an answer, okay? Every lunar cycle, there's 13 lunar months. Why is the turtle so important? Because the back of the snapping turtle has 13 moons on it, okay? And 28 for the woman, okay? So 28 for the lunar month. So there's 13 lunar moons that the women have, and they're on the back of that turtle. And so each lunar month is a representation of a new thing that you would do, through the year in a traditional life. If you want to make an offering with this tobacco, you can do it. If you feel like you just put a little tobacco down on there and say a few of your own words, you can do that, eh? So just in your own.
I just thought of something when I was in grade 8. I wasn't very good at basketball. My sister was much better than I was, but I was on the starting lineup, and I was number 13 in basketball. So that's funny. Symbolism and interesting winks from the universe with your own life story. It's just fun.
Language or whatever, Doesn't have to be a large good. Perfect.
I need to do this.
Snake is for a lot of Anishinaabe people, they'll call their enemy the snakes. There's an old story about, like I said, about turtles and snakes having a big battle over who is going to, have own stewardship. So it may represent those two opposite forces, in nature. But sometimes things have dual meanings too, eh? Because we think of things in goodness and evilness, whereas Indigenous people think of those things more as things that are naturally working and things that should seem unnatural to the world, So it's not about good and bad. It's more about, if something is unnatural, then it means that it's distorted, it's destroying some positivity, to it.
Well, this is actually only posted 6 months ago, so I feel like I'm on to something, really. I also have a little bit about the snake petroform specifically, just because snakes and dragons, and we're in the lunar year of the dragon, and I was the red dragon warrior. I had dark hair, so I don't know, like when I was younger, I was very much tuned to, I'm like, okay, I have to have the right hair color if I'm going to be a certain dragon warrior, right? Kind of silly, right? Or that's if I'm going to be a certain character, I mean. And so I always envisioned my leader as having blonde hair. I used to have visions when I was younger of this beautiful blonde woman saving the day. And I'm just like, oh, I just became that. But it's like about realizing that in your own life and what that kind of means. And it's taken me a little while, a little roundabout way to figure things out, but I think I have. And so I'm just going to read a little bit about snake petroforms in the North. This is an essay from Leo Petitpas from the Manitoba Archaeological Society. Okay, so petroforms are recognizable figures that have been constructed by the orderly patterned laying of stones on the ground surface. Now, the term petroform is a good one because it describes exactly what's being talked about in this article: shapes or forms made of stones. Petra is in Greek, shapes made of stones, Petra in Greek. Now, in Western Canada, petroforms are fairly common in the forested shield country. So it's interesting. It's also known as the shield area of the Canadian forest. The shield being in astro Cancer, and also Cancer is ruled by the moon. So just something to keep in mind here. Now, also we've got, they appear in the shapes of humans, animals, and geometric figures such as circles, squares, and ovals. And they do have similar cultural significance to the medicine wheel. However, they're basically like the stones in Manitoba petroforms are not piled on top of each other like you would see in the famous Inuit Inuksut found in the Arctic, and they're not clustered together like a mosaic. They're laid out in a sequence, sort of like when someone places a row of stones around the flower garden in their front yard. The genuine petroforms found in the prairie provinces are most certainly Aboriginal in origin, and for many years, anthropologists have been trying to figure out who made them, why they made them, and how old they exactly are. Unfortunately, some good information has been obtained from the Anishinaabe Ojibwe leaders who live on the east side of Lake Winnipeg during the last century. One source holds that the petroforms in southeastern Manitoba were created as part of the Ojibwe Midibuin, or Grand Medicine Society, that had been instituted generations ago to deal with the disease, depopulation, and cultural breakdown that came with the arrival of the Europeans. Some of the white shell examples are the shapes of turtles and snakes, and special healing ceremonies were conducted at places where animal-shaped zoomorphic petroforms were built. So healing ceremonies were taking place at many of these locations. I think there's a lot of like vision quests and sweat lodges around some of these petroforms. So I think that a lot of, any kind of vision quest would be something you would do here. And as I said, if they're zodiac in nature, right? They would maybe perhaps line up to the stars in some sort of way. So I'm going to show you the diagram of the snake. Hold on, let's see here. There we go. I feel like a teacher right now. La la la. Look at my chart. But I'm going to show you this because now then I'm going to go into the horror of the vandalism and how we don't really have a right to think that we know better in terms of interpretation of symbols and stories, right? So if someone were to look at this at ground level, they'd be like, this is just nothing. This is just rocks in some sort of order. But this probably lines up to something, and now we're not going to know, and I'm going to get to why in just a moment. But this is the snake petroform in Whiteshell Provincial Park. I have told Kevin, I'm like, we need to go out there this summer. This is the summer that we're going to camp there. Summer solstice, Whiteshell Provincial Park. We're going to make it happen, guys. Let's project out to that. I'll reach out to appropriate people very shortly. I just made that now. Summer solstice, because that's likely this is a lunar calendar, but what do they say? Like you're still tracking it. Like the 13 is actually related a lot to Osiris, which is masculine in nature. However, the 28 days, and they said it in one of those videos, that's very like feminine in nature as well. So because, your period, 28 days approximately. I actually got my period on the full moon of Virgo coming up. So I was like, wow, I'm like really tuned in right now. And that's been a big win for me since I was on birth control for like a long time, and I am healing from that. But yes, you can see here that I'm just going to read a little bit here, and then we'll go into the vandalism thing, and then I'm going to go into the shaky earthquake at Angel Grove Park, and then some symbolism about sacred groves, and if perhaps you have in your hometown, in your backyard, a sacred site that we can maybe all activate this summer solstice for the year of the dragon, because we have to all call out to our brothers and sisters of the kingdom of earth, and maybe we can turn this place on again. All right, so until recently, anthropologists were unaware of petroforms of any kind in the Churchill River drainage of the north. However, in 2007, Dr. Catherine Petitpas, so I guess you're maybe related to the guy who's writing this article, anyways, of the Manitoba Museum, was studying the collections of a Northern Gateway Museum at Denair Beach, Saskatchewan. And she came across some handwritten manuscripts penned in the 1960s by the late Harry Moody, a local heritage aficionado. One of these documents held quite a surprise, an account of petroforms just to the west of the Manitoba-Saskatchewan border. Mr. Moody was keenly interested in Cree history and culture, and he was always on the lookout for information on these subjects. On one occasion, he learned from a local resident about a stone snake several yards long on an island in the Island Falls area. This description qualifies it as a true petroform. The island was called, interestingly enough, Snake Island. In 1961, a Cree man, who was also hailed from the Island Falls district, was a patient in the Flin Flon Hospital. Oh my gosh, I know Flin Flon. Mr. Moody took the opportunity to ask him, through an interpreter, about the above-mentioned stone snake that he, Mr. Moody, had heard about earlier on. The patient told of an incident long ago in which snakes in that district ate a small girl. The local natives memorialized the event by making a stone model of a snake that measured about 4 feet long. It was constructed at a place where an actual snake, and a large one at that, had been seen coming out of the water. Oh, wow. Okay. About 2.5 miles away, the natives constructed another stone snake, this one about 5 feet long. The two northern snake petroforms I've described here may not have played a role in the healing ceremonies did those in the Whiteshell. In fact, it's all but impossible for me to surmise the function of the second snake. That is, the one that didn't serve a memorial to what happened to the young girl. Even this latter story presents a challenge because there are no snakes native to the Churchill drainage today that kill people or feed on human flesh. Interesting. On the other hand, the account is compatible with certain facets of ancient Cree tradition that cast snakes in a rather unfavorable light. So snakes are not favorable in this, in terms of like what they were saying in the second video, where what you would call your enemies in terms of being snakes. Let's see here. About eating people too. So I'm just gonna skip. Okay, so that's the snake petroforms specifically. I also have some other things as well about vision quests and the turtle and the lunar calendar and the turtle, but I'm going to save that for a different talk and time. I just wanted to bring some light to these sacred sites because this happened when I was looking into this, and this was June 30th, 2017. That this was posted here and then updated. But good for you, Austin Grabish, for find you and see if you can talk to you about it. Okay, so a petroform sacred to Indigenous people in Manitoba. I'm just gonna make myself a little smaller here. A petroform sacred to Indigenous people in Manitoba has been destroyed, sparking outrage from a woman who believes her mission is to protect the site. So Diane, oh my gosh, I'm going to butcher your last name, but I am going to try. May Tway Ashing. Diane May Tway Ashing. So she's the one who leads this site, I believe. I'm going to contact you, girl. Yeah, I am going to contact you about this and see if they fixed it, because this happened in 2017. It's now 2024, and hold on, sorry. And then there's this other thing that happened like within a month about the pictographs being vandalized with spray paint, and that was in Ontario. But I'm not going to get into that right now. Now, she was leading a tour group with students on Wednesday because, as you can tell, she does tour groups to see the Bannock Point petroforms. And these petroforms are arrangements of rocks that make up the outline of an animal or other distinctive shape when viewed from a distance. The Bannock Point site is a sacred place used from time to time by First Nations people for ceremonial purposes. Now, when she and her group reached the petroforms this time, they discovered the stones of one arranged in the shape of a snake. So this guy right here, her snake friend, has been rearranged into an inukshuk, which is like that man who stands, like kind of like a Burning Man symbolism. I was telling Kevin about this, and we think it's super creepy that you would it's just bad juju. It's like bad. That's not meant to be. It's not meant to be. That's like not the right culture either. I felt my heart fall to my stomach. It was really horrible. I bet. It kind of numbed me because it was like a violation was happening. It sure was. Meitwai Ashing, Anishinaabe woman and area guide and educator, said the snake represented a sacred feminine ancient story. Okay, this does not sound like that other article. Do you have... I'm going to ask her about this. That's going to be our story. Stay tuned for that. I'm going to hunt this woman down. I'm going to do a little truth, beauty, freedom, love story with her, because this... I need to know what happened, because can't you just put the rocks back? So, and I need to know about the story, the sacred feminine ancient story. What story is that? So here, she said the stones are considered as sacred as the Stonehenge in England or the Egyptian pyramids. It was a place of gathering for thousands of years. Yes, you would come there and celebrate. They remember Manitou, Great Spirit, where the Great Spirit touched down. So it would be a place that you would honor that and the turning of the ages and time. Metwai Shing, I really hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. I'm going to ask you how to say it properly. Believes the destruction of the snake petroform and building of the inukshuk was a malicious act of vandalism. Yes, I think it's also perhaps maybe misinformed by people thinking that it was nothing, and they just rearranged it thinking that they were doing something artistic without knowing the history of the land that they were on. And Manitoba Sustainable Development, whoever that is, says petroforms are susceptible to destruction from animals and the weather, as well as people who may unwittingly destroy a petroform by carrying the rocks away to build campfires or deliberately rearrange a site. it says here, she's now calling on friends to act as security and camp out at the site this weekend. And she said she and the elders agree it's perhaps time to shut this site down to the public, which is a shame because these sites need to be activated for their proper sacred usage, as well as people waking up to their true nature. I think that, yeah, I'm going to talk to her about this. I agree they need to be protected, but we need to also still continue to educate, especially our young ones, about the stories behind the sacred sites. A spokesperson for the Manitoba government said the province, of course, is aware of the incident and conservation officers are now investigating. Okay, sure. This is an important historic Indigenous site considered sacred by many people. The vandalism of it is very disappointing. And yeah, it's a horrible thing. But let's see here. But like, there's the education about these sites is important, definitely. But also the stories that are behind them, right? Because things are symbols, but it's important not to confuse symbols with the real thing. And I don't know if this has, let's see here. I subscribed to this one as well because I like their name, Eternal Wisdom. This looks like an old video, right? Because of the aspect ratio, but. I miss this.
Spirit.
I grew up here, so like you think of the prairies and you're like, oh, it's so flat, but there's some beauty. There's a lot of beauty.
Granite rock, billions of years old. Beautiful cave-like areas.
Little caves and stuff. So maybe they go down deeper than what we even think. We don't know. The secret little alcoves that go like lead out. Gotta go there and investigate, I think.
Granite rock used to make petroforms.
I have to look at the stone components because I know that there's limestone there somewhere in Manitoba, but I think he said granite. I should check like what materials they actually use. And now finally, let's see here if I can find Power Rangers episode 1, season 1. Will it give it that to me? Let's see.
You really food inspector?
As far as you know, yeah.
Then inspect this!
When's Power Rangers Day? August 28th. Okay, we should
all
remember
looks
that.
good to me.
No.
After 10,000 years, I'm free! It's time to conquer Earth!
Alpha, Leaders Escape. Recruit a team of teenagers with attitudes.
Okay. I'm not here for this necessarily. Although I had the biggest crush on this guy. Oh my gosh. It's like not even crazy. But let's go. I should do a watch party for this. Let me know if you guys would be down for that. A live watch party for this. I don't know if they'd kill me for copyright, but I wanted to actually just find... No. Okay, so that Goldar... in the Halo game when I'm playing with Kevin, I'm like, looks like Goldar. It's that. It's a Day of the Dumpster, season 1, episode 1 here.
I did?
Yeah, we were watching you.
I don't know if I've got what it takes.
It's all a state of mind, Billy. You don't...
She died too, actually. That's really sad. I'm trying to find... There's an earthquake, I feel like. Okay. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So, they're in Angel Grove. They're hanging out. I love that they're already wearing the colors that they're going to be the Power Rangers of. And then...
Oh my gosh, what's happening? This is too weird. Hold on!
remember that's how it happened.
This isn't exactly the mall, is it?
This place is magnificent.
I don't get it. How'd we end up here?
I just want to know where here is.
Well, maybe the answer's in these controls.
No, don't touch that. Whoa.
Okay. So that takes care of today's Rachel Z Project episode. I'm going to officially try to find like a little watch time to watch the official episode 1. That was really funny because see how they like there was the earthquake, but then they just like transported them. I don't know, I remember it differently. I remember it being like, oh, we fell, because if you look at where like let's go there one more time and then I'll switch.
Who ordered the spinach juice?
Oh no! It's an earthquake! Everybody stay calm! Sorry, Paul!
Okay. I just needed more time of the earthquake.
Something tells me this is no earthquake.
Danger! It's the big one. I know it. We'll all be destroyed.
Calm down, Alpha. It's Rita. She's escaped and she's attacking the planet.
Ay, what do we do?
Teleport to us 5 overbearing and over-emotional humans.
No, not that. Not teenagers.
That's correct, Alpha.
I was afraid of that.
Oh my gosh, what's happening? This is too weird. Hold on!
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I just got an idea of how I'm going to do my sequence. Because like, so the Petroforms are going to be where the earthquake happens, and then that opens up a little area, secret alcove, secret cave, as you saw there. There's plenty of areas that a secret, really old dragon could live, you know? So that takes care of this episode of the Rachel Z Project. I hope you have a beautiful evening wherever you reside in the cosmos. Until next time.